Hi, my name is Kate and welcome to the channel Conscious Parenting. Today my guest is Monica Shiakou, and Monica is Associate Professor of Psychology in European University of Cyprus. She also a practitioner, a child psychotherapist, and holds a lot of publications in the area of play, bullying and attachment. So welcome, Monica.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
And first question probably is, what is bullying? How would you define
Well, actually, it's a very important question. We are now in a position that we can actually identify bullying and have given an explanation to it. So basically bullying has the characteristic of being consecutive. So it is repeated. In contrast to other types of bullying, that of school violence, bullying has the characteristic that it's actually on a repetitive basis. What also comes as a characteristic of bullying is the imbalance of power between the parties that are being involved. Now, the imbalance of power doesn't necessarily mean physical power. So it doesn't mean that the bully, the child who actually bullies, will be physically bigger and stronger than the child who is being bullied, but it means that there's some kind of difference to the victim that is considered an imbalance by the bully. So it could be, for example, that a little bit overweight, a different race, a different religion, a different sexual orientation. That could be considered an imbalance. And the third characteristic of bullying is that it has an intention to harm. It has not been done as an accident, as a mistake. The persons or the person who is bullying has an intent to harm the victim. So, and again, another way that we can compare it to other types of violence, or even the physical play between boys sometimes, is just, there is no enjoyment in the part. So one of the persons is suffering with this kind of behavior. Whilst when boys are playing, even if they're playing rough and tumbly, they are enjoying it. So in bullying, if the victim is receiving some kind of, let's say, names, or mockery, this has an intent to hurt. It is not enjoyed by the other party. So these are the basic characteristics of bullying, and this is how we can identify them from the general school violence that we sometimes might get in schools.
And you have a lot of practice working with the families, and how would you recommend someone to talk with their kids about the bullying?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily recommend that you speak to your child about bullying. I definitely recommend that you always have open channels of communication with your child. So if, as a family, you do not communicate and you are not able to, pick the little things that are happening in your child's life, it's very unlikely that that child will come to you when they're in danger, because they're probably being threatened. They're being, let's say, they're being asked, or they're being threatened not to say to anyone. So I think that we don't have to wait actually until our child is in danger to create the channels of communication between ourselves and our child. But having said that, there are definitely some characteristics that a parent can be aware, that they can actually understand that the child is in danger. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being bullied, but it could mean that that child is suffering from something. Okay?
What are those?
So those characteristics could be, for example, any kind of behavior that is not typical of your child. So, for example, irregular, extra energy, for example. So if my child is usually, quite cool, quite relaxed, it usually listens, follows rules, doesn't give me a lot of trouble, and all of a sudden that child begins to be disobedient, begins to be hyperactive, begins to be irritable. This is not typical of my child. So it means that my child is under some kind of pressure, okay? But if, for example, if this is your typical child, this will not be something that, you know, will actually inform you of what is happening. However, other kinds of symptoms that actually will alert us that our child is in a stressful situation: irregularities in feeding, over or under, problems with sleep, over or under, complaints about headaches, stomach aches, nightmares, sweating of the palms, any kind of skin disorders that suddenly come up. So these kinds of symptoms are the first symptoms that alert us that our child is probably under pressure, and we need to investigate it. But we actually have to wish that our child will come to us before the organism of the child is put under that kind of strain.
What would be, and that's probably not the particular focus of our conversation, but I feel it's very important in the context of what you said. What would be your, again, recommendations or some specific ideas on how to create this open channel? So actually in the time of stress, it could be used.
Yeah, well, again, it's very important that we begin to speak to our children early about mental health in general, okay? And we need to share little things about our daily lives with our children. So this way we give them the opportunity to learn how to share. So, but a lot of parents say that, you know, I asked my child, what did they do today in school? And they say, I don't know, I don't remember. And I said, yes, of course, that's what they're going to say, because you're not specific. And you're asking a very general question to a very small child. So when your children do come home, you say, tell me one thing you liked about school today. And one thing you didn't like about school today. However, it's very important that I come home and I say to my child, you know what, today I had a very difficult day. You know, I had a bit of an argument with my colleague, but then we did this and this and this. And, you know, maybe I need a minute today, you know, or today I had such a cool day, this and this happened. So kids will not communicate with you if they don't see you doing it. So communication is a skill. It's actually being taught in university. So they have to observe someone doing it. Again, in the case where a mom is not feeling well, she can actually say to the child, today I'm not feeling well and I need, you know, a bit of time and I will feel better, you know, later on. Or even if a parent is medicated for their mental health, we can also share that with our child. So this is how you actually get your child to communicate, when you begin. As soon as the child begins to understand and using language for communication, but even not, to communicate messages. So when the time is right, they will come to you. However, the kid must also feel that the parents have their back. Okay? So that's very important for a child to feel that, you know, even though I did something that my mom might get upset, I know that she will understand and she's got my back. Even though my mom might get angry or my dad might get angry, it's okay because she has my back. So that's actually very important, that our children are not scared of telling us how they feel, because a lot of children are scared of the, you know, consequences that their parents will give. But I mean, as a mom, but also as a therapist, I think that communication is something that is built over time, and you have to give your child the skills. You have to teach your child the skills.